a gaming company or a chair company out there that wants to help this old man out, my DMs are wide open. Okay, but this is gonna be the question: are microtransactions in a game a good thing? I've been playing a lot of the first Descendant. If you guys haven't heard, this game is being kind of berated with its microtransactions because I think there's probably more microtransactions than there are mechanics in the game, or at least at launch. Like if you broke down each individual microtransaction. But with that said, my hot take: microtransactions aren't good nor bad for games. They're just a business model for a way to for studios to keep afloat, to keep creating new and new games. Are they now? Can microtransactions become manipulative, terrible, bad things? Yes, 100%. But I think we get lost when we see the trees and we get lost with the forest when we're looking at microtransactions. But I bring this up today simply because here I want to actually copy this and this. Go here, post this, keep these together, drink this. You guys still feel like you're involved? Okay. But this is I saw a little bit of this. I watched a little bit, and then I was like, yeah, I kind of want to break this down on stream because microtransactions in the First Descendant, they're not the only games to have microtransactions. First Descendant and other looter shooters are not the first games to have microtransactions. The microtransactions have been in games now for really a hot minute, but this video, at least for in the terms of First Descendant, kind of gives us some other perspectives on maybe why that is.
The First Descendant, you know, that one game with the really good storylines and plot. It's a third-person co-op looter shooter that's got pretty standard mechanics for the genre, so it's a fine game. It's built off Unreal Engine 5, so it's a gorgeous-looking game with incredible graphics. But a lot of people are feeling pretty mixed about the microtransactions and the fact that the store is priced so high for a free-to-play game.
I hate that I'm stopping this in the first 23 seconds, but I already, within the first 23 seconds, I could take note of this, that I hate that this sounds like, sounds like she's reading from an IGN article. And I say that because you look at gaming journalists, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in the chat. Tell me if I'm wrong. But when you look at like gaming journalists for IGN, they don't feel like gamers, right? They just feel like people who just like maybe this Star Wars, for example, and then they play a Star Wars game. They're not gamers, so they're not really critiquing the game. They're just kind of critiquing what their fantasy of Star Wars is, and it's coming out as like not understanding why people sit down behind a desk and have pride and try to become gamers or have the drive to be a gamer or want to grow. It seems like it's just that switch isn't on in their head.
Since the game is a looter shooter, it's only PvE, so the items you can purchase aren't anything that could be considered pay to win. However, you can definitely purchase items that will help you progress through the game faster with XP boosts. You're able to purchase a premium battle pass, character and weapon skins, and increased inventory capacity.
Isn't this true of every looter shooter though? Destiny, I'm sure Warframe had this. I never played it. Borderlands, like all this sounds what she just described of having cosmetics, weapon skins, battle pass, all that's even Call of Duty and Fortnite now. Like, what are we actually bitching about?
The in-game currency is unfortunately only attainable through buying it with real-life money. You can't earn it through playing the game itself. However, you can grind to earn new characters, but it takes a really long time. There was a Steam review that said the First Descendant released with more real money purchasable items than actual gameplay mechanics. I know we're all pretty used to games that are free to play usually bringing about a lot of purchasable items in the game, but I've noticed that a lot of Korean games have always had microtransactions in them. Specifically, a lot of Korean role-playing games have a ton of microtransactions. RPGs are the most common games to have microtransactions for skins, XP boosts, and whatever else you might need in them, and Korea has been utilizing this system for a lot longer than some people remember. But why are so many Korean games dominated in microtransactions and oddly...
So in 2006, this was the top 6 games. Call of Duty's not on this. This has to be like, yeah, this has to be early Black Ops series, no? Maybe like Call of Duty, like, I'm surprised. We're not even seeing... When did Halo Combat Evolved come out? Or even Halo 2? Halo 2 might have been around too. I don't know if it's
the same genre, so
unarguable, but World of Warcraft is one of the best games ever made. I played a lot more though.
Done with gaming. MapleStory featured Cosmo choose to go the
Sorry, the old man
microtransaction route so
texted me.
aggressively. I mean, if audience down and can depend on their money being spent on in-game items. I really believe this is why Korean MMOs don't survive well in North America. Black Desert Online was fine, but people realized how grindy the game was and how predatory the microtransactions seemed because it really felt like you had no choice but to purchase items to help you get through the game easier. Lost Ark is another example of things like this failure in North America. But why do these games seem to fail elsewhere? I think we have to go and look back at South Korea's gaming culture. PC bangs, or PC cafes, were really just rooms of PCs you could rent for however long to do whatever you needed with them. But PC bangs and
This has to be a Korean thing, because at least the only time I've seen this is when I went to Vegas, where you could sit down behind a computer and like play some games. And I thought that was the coolest shit ever. But I know overseas in the Asian countries, it's way more popular.
entering
Also, the PCs at home thing, I totally get it, because I felt like I didn't get my first PC, like my own, like we had a family PC, but that's why I never really played any of these games. My dad and I played World of Warcraft a little bit together, but my dad's not too much of a hardcore gamer. Where me, I got caught up in just, and I still, as somebody who's 30, I get caught up in just the internet and gaming, everything that it is. I like the fantasy of it. I guess is just ultimately what I'm trying to beat around the bush to say. It just sounds weird to say, but yeah, the fantasy of gaming and just be able to go in and immerse. But it's just, I don't want to get too derailed off this topic of microtransactions, but the internet to me is a very cool place, and it has changed, but it is still a very cool place. Lots of cool things. A lot bad, a lot of cool.
just as high-speed internet was also spreading worldwide, wasn't exactly the best thing for gamers in Korea. According to Statista, 92% of Koreans use the internet. In 2002, the rate was 59.4% of the people in the country versus in 2004, where it jumped up to 70%.
I want to see where this chart is now, because I have to see this number of people using the internet. I laughed at that, but I have to think, like, there's probably has to be people out there who still don't really use the internet. I mean, so many people who are playing Call of Duty and these Madden games, and hell, I'm sure even like Destiny and World of Warcraft, the age group that is me, right, and maybe even a little older, like my dad's generation, really more my dad's generation. The boomers who are not online, who are pretty steadfast in their fucking ways, and they're not on the internet. At least not in the same way, but to play games, I guess you kind of have to be on the internet. So I don't know. Kind of put my hand in my fist in my mouth, but this number being 93% actually blows me away. I would expect this to be like 92%. But even at 2000s in Korea, not even 50% of people were on the internet. Blows me away.
To put this further into perspective, 71% of the population played video games in 2021. There's something to be said about
No shit. But during COVID, before COVID, 2018, 2019, it was starting to become cool to be a gamer, and like it was actually seen as a cool thing. But then once COVID happened, we had this time where everyone was locked in playing games. It stopped being this cool thing, but almost became like a whole other thing. And now it's like ingratiated in our community. We're getting esports. There's so many more people who will tune in and watch Twitch streams. Like I can bring up Twitch streams at the gym, and people are gonna know what I'm talking about. Do that before COVID, I don't think anyone's gonna know what I'm talking about. And I'm talking like even when Ninja was about to play with Drake, that was back in 2018, if you believe that. For like the first time, and it was really like a launch pad for gaming and this whole subgenre to make it a main genre. I think what she's getting at, and I think she's correct, is like over in Korea and China, Japan, esports and gaming was already 70%, 80% of the population was doing that. I think that's what that chart was trying to put down.
or IGD is an established condition that's officially recognized by the World Health Organization. A lot of Asian countries have more people who suffer from IGD than others, and the American Psychiatric Association found that when these people play internet games, certain pathways in their brains are triggered in the same direct and intense way that a drug addict's brain is affected by taking drugs. South Korea has had many reports of gamers failing to take care of themselves, and sometimes even dying when refusing to get up from a game to take a break. BBC reported in August 2005 on a 28-year-old Korean man who collapsed in a PC bang after playing 50 hours of StarCraft, and his death was deemed heart failure from exhaustion.
Okay. I'm older than this guy, right? This 28-year-old man who collapsed, he's dead. I'm older than him. I don't think this is the people that we need to be looking out for. That may be a super hot take, but we got to eventually create a better, stronger community, and that doesn't mean neglecting that those are weak. And in fact, the reason why you're strong is to protect the weak and inspire those to become strong to protect the weak down the line, and thus inspiring a ladder of strength and wisdom and virtue, right? That's at least my philosophical rant. If somebody is 50 hours in, 28, like, they may be gone. You may drag a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. And that may sound cruel, but we can't punish the whole for the one dumb.
CNN reported on a Korean couple who neglected their infant daughter to keep playing games, specifically Prius Online, that, ironically enough, required players to raise a magical girl. Their daughter died due to lack of food or attention. The games that dominated Korea for so long were games that required a lot of attention for long spans of time. Think about StarCraft,
So
MapleStory,
formal.
or any other MMORPG. Psychologist Professor Mark Griffiths, author of several online gambling and gambling addiction studies, stated that people liked playing MMORPGs for such long durations due to the social aspects. Griffiths said, quote, "According to Statista, the mobile gaming market in Korea is a little under $7 billion and over 50% of Korea's population plays mobile games." I'm not trying to demonize developers, but when you see a monetization model that works and generates billions of income, you're bound to stick with it, especially when you know your audience is susceptible to spending tons of money in your games. Gaming has always been huge in Korea.
Is it susceptible? This is not like if somebody sees something in a video game and they want to buy it, and they have the means to buy it. It's not like a susceptible thing. It's like, let them buy it. They have pride in what they're doing. They're putting their time and investing into something. I mean, we don't want to admit it, and this is a scary word to say, but it's virtually an NFT. Just a way less quote-unquote valuable NFT, but, well, maybe not. All NFTs are worthless, so they're maybe all at the same value, but, like, yeah.
It's not exactly the most uplifting thing to hear, but Korea is taking steps in trying to combat video game addictions. As for microtransactions, there was actually a Game Industry Act passed by the National Assembly in Korea in March 2023 that defines loot boxes and requires the game developers, distributors, and service providers to detail the type of loot boxes and information on the odds and probabilities of getting items publicly and easily seen. There are new laws being implemented to try and protect the people who are susceptible to buying more transactions in games, slowly but surely. As for the first Descendant, I think the microtransactions are definitely weird and overpriced, but they're not necessary by any means.
I don't think I saw Asmongold say this, but I kind of agree with him that in First Descendant, I think everything is priced pretty fairly. If you made anything too cheap, then it is more or less like a gotcha machine where it's just like, all right, pay for the next character and move on. But since they are a little pricier and there is an option to grind for it, it's just like, okay, either pay up or you can be a good little gamer and grind your heart out. Like, I don't understand. And you could still be a good little gamer and break your wallet out and just buy the Descendants and then level them up. You still got to put time in.
Sure, some items can be bought to minimize the grind, but it's PvE, so really who gives a shit? Thanks for watching, and if someone you know is struggling with addiction, call 1-800-GAMBLER for the National Problem Gambling Helpline. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.
That was a good video, though. Parallax Stella, good for you. Go ahead and give you a little sub, thumbs up on this. Is a well done video.